Naturally, a quite ridiculously high level of coordination and teamwork from everyone involved is required to bring a movie to the big screen. However, things don't always go the way they are planned. Particularly on set, there are plenty of things that can go wrong, leading to the most weird and awkward situations. And yes, even a badly timed fart. We've all been there. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 10 ridiculously awkward moments you won't believe happened on movie sets. Number 10. Christian Bale's Rant, Terminator Salvation. Christian Bale is widely known as an actor who throws absolutely everything he has into whatever role he takes, including but certainly not limited to drastically and sometimes dangerously altering his body. The point is, the man clearly takes what he does very, very seriously. There is no greater example of this as when cinematographer Shane Hurlbut walked onto the Terminator Salvation set to check a light while Bale was filming a scene. To say the John Connor actor exploded would be a bit of an understatement. Bale berated Hurlbut for distracting him and taking him out of the scene with a ludicrous total of 39 F-bombs. Called him an amateur, said that they were done professionally, and what was possibly the worst of the near 4-minute rant was that he threatened to kick his ass and to trash his lights. How rude. The actor would ultimately apologise for the rant, admitting that he was way out of line, and received the support of his fellow castmates. Everyone does things that they regret, folks. And it seems that this was ultimately passion simply channeled in the wrong manner. But what a horrible day this would have been for anyone in the vicinity. Number 9. Harrison Ford broke his leg, Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens. There has become something of an urban legend surrounding Harrison Ford's attitude towards Star Wars, based on certain things the legendary actor has said about the franchise and his character, and the fact that he only returned for the sequel trilogy with the guarantee that Solo would die. It is widely believed that Harrison Ford just hates Star Wars. Of course, hate is a strong word, but regardless of his attitude, it certainly can't have been helped by what happened to him on the set of Episode 7 The Force Awakens. While filming for his first Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi, Ford walked through a door on the Millennium Falcon set. Back in 1983, this door would have been operated on a pulley. But in 2014, the production evolved into using hydraulic doors. And when this failed, it essentially slammed Ford into the ground. The 74-year-old dislocated his ankle and broke both bones in his leg, resulting in him having to be airlifted to hospital and being on the sidelines for several weeks. And while Ford has clearly been able to poke fun at the incident since, there would have been nothing close to laughter at the time. Number 8. Michael B. Jordan got knocked out, Creed. Different movie roles will always require an actor to give something different to make it work. For Creed, Michael B. Jordan earned the role of playing Adonis Creed, and had to convincingly play the character as a champion boxer. For this, there are the obvious physical traits necessary, but he also had to get the technique down to make his performance believable. Fortunately, or unfortunately, he was opposite Tony Bellew, a genuine champion boxer, as Pretty Ricky Conlon in the flick. But as the two were sparring and practicing on set, Jordan actually took a punch full to the face, and according to Sylvester Stallone, was knocked out for real. Not surprising, really. Bellew has 20 professional knockout victories to his name, so when he connected properly with Jordan, he was always gonna go down, wasn't he? It's not every day you go to work and get knocked unconscious. But Rocky himself was proud of his co-star for getting up and going again, showing the kind of spirit and guts that made the Italian Stallion such a popular character to begin with. Number 7. Kurt Russell destroyed an antique guitar, The Hateful Eight. When something happens accidentally on set while the cameras are rolling, it can sometimes be turned into pure gold depending on how the actors react. And in a moment during the shooting of Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, Jennifer Jason Leigh was required to do almost no acting at all, as Kurt Russell smashed what he thought was a prop guitar against a wall. He didn't know it at the time, while Leigh did, that the guitar was actually an antique from the 1860s that had been loaned to the film set by the Martin Museum. When the realization hit, Russell was apparently heartbroken. But not so much as Leigh. She had learned to play guitar with that very instrument, and even had designs to buy it when filming was done. She was in love with it, and had to watch as an unknowing Russell destroyed it in front of her very eyes. It ultimately added another dimension to the scene, and to Jason Lee's Oscar-nominated performance. But you can just imagine the moment the penny dropped and Kurt Russell realized what he had done. Number 6. Ryan Reynolds insulted T.J. Miller, Deadpool 2. There are some people in Hollywood that are just universally loved, one of which is Ryan Reynolds. He has always been incredibly popular, something that only seemed to be cemented by his appearances as Deadpool, and it feels as though there are very few people who have anything bad to actually say about him. Very few, but not nobody. Reynolds' Deadpool and Deadpool 2 co-star T.J. Miller did not enjoy his experience on set with the actor, and has said he would not work with him again. He even went so far as to say Reynolds was horrifically mean to him. Miller, who played Weasel in the first 2 Deadpool movies, was upset that Reynolds insulted both him and his character, telling him he wasn't as funny as Reynolds himself, and believed that the former Green Lantern actor hated him. He didn't want to work with Reynolds again, but based on Miller's history, it's highly unlikely he would have been invited back for Deadpool and Wolverine anyway. Though this is how Miller felt their relationship developed, it's possible it should be taken with a pinch of salt, as Reynolds has a history of being a joy to work with, while it is Miller who has been accused of bullying on set before, as well as a number of other far more serious offences. For what it's worth, Reynolds was said to have emailed Miller after his comments, and things were apparently fine now. So there's that. Thanks for tapping on this video today, folks. Hit that subscribe button down below for more What Culture in your life. Number 5. Matthew McConaughey did not read his script, Scorpion Spring. The process of making movies can differ depending on almost countless aspects, one of which is how much room is given for improvisation. While some directors allow their actors to have a little fun with their dialogue and try different things, others are notoriously meticulous and rigid when it comes to the script. In preparation for his role in Scorpion Spring, Matthew McConaughey decided upon the approach of not reading the script at all, instead choosing to get to know his character and simply react and improvise to the situation in the moment on set. Needless to say, this is a bold decision to make, particularly without running it by anyone else. When the actor arrived on set, he was immediately presented with undeniable proof as to why he should have read his script. Day 1 called for a 4-page monologue from McConaughey, which of course he hadn't learned, and to make things even worse, it was to be spoken entirely in Spanish. Yep. The actor asked for a 12-minute break to try and learn his lines, which to the surprise of nobody was not enough. It speaks to just how awkward it was that even now, almost 30 years later, he still won't go back and watch the scene out of sheer embarrassment. Number 4. Christopher Mintz-Plass's mother was on set, Superbad. As far as teen comedies go, there aren't many more famous or iconic than Superbad. The 2007 hit helped launch the careers of the likes of Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, and introduced the world to Christopher Mintz-Plass's Fogel, aka the iconic McLovin. Superbad has more than its fair share of awkward moments, more so than many other coming-of-age movies about cringeworthy teenagers going through the most uncomfortable phase of their lives. However, arguably the epitome of this occurred behind the scenes. In the whirlwind that was Jules' party, Fogel went upstairs to have sex with Nicola. Despite the fact that they were interrupted by Seth Rogen and Bill Hader's police officers bursting in, the awkwardness of the scene on screen doesn't compare to how bad it must have been on set. Since Mintz-Plasse was still a minor at the time, his mom had to be on set while filming. What must have been an uncomfortable scene to film at the best of times at 17 years old, surely would have been made unbearable by the presence of his mother watching on from behind the camera. The actor has previously described the experience as being pretty uncomfortable, which may just be the understatement of the century. Number 3. Josh Hutcherson farted on Tom Hanks, The Polar Express. Josh Hutcherson was still little more than a kid when he became something of a household name, with by far his biggest role to date as Peter Mellark in The Hunger Games. However, his acting career started much earlier. At just 9 years old, he landed a role in The Polar Express opposite Tom Hanks. Imagine, as a young boy, the excitement at being able to work with one of the most famous and beloved actors in the world at such a young age. Certainly, the last thing you want to do is embarrass yourself or make things awkward, right? Hutcherson would have been absolutely no different in this. But unfortunately, this couldn't stop him from farting in Tom Hanks' face. Oh boy. While huddled up together shooting a scene for the motion capture movie, the young man just couldn't help but let one rip. Hanks could have handled this in a number of ways, but chose to embarrass Hutcherson even further, calling everyone's attention to the fact that he had just farted. The actor told James Corden he thought he was going to start sweating blood, and that it was the most embarrassing moment of his entire life. Poor kid. Number 2, Jake Gyllenhaal's erratic behavior, suddenly. Casting is as important an aspect of filmmaking as anything else. But there is more to it than finding the right actor for the right role. Will the entire cast get on, or will they cause issues? Will egos get in the way? How easy will the stars of the show be to work with? The latter reportedly became a huge issue for director Thomas Bidegain on the set of his would-be movie Suddenly, as he told French magazine Technicart that Jake Gyllenhaal's behaviour was erratic and aggressive, though he'd eventually state that it was a creative clash that led to the production not working out. That being said, the actor reportedly demanded multiple rewrites to the script, as they worked on it in Iceland for a week, insisting that every declaration of love between his and Vanessa Kirby's character be changed to a declaration of love for nature. He apparently lost his temper because he wasn't sure what time the day started, and he also decided against certain sets being built as they didn't fit his own vision. Creative differences happen all the time, not necessarily to this extent, and not reportedly argued quite so aggressively as by Gyllenhaal. But the most awkward moment feels like it came when the set builders arrived at the hotel. The actor was concerned about COVID-19 spreading, understandably as this took place in 2021, but what was less understandable was demanding that they all sleep in their cars. Yeah, if that's true, that's a bit weird. Number 1, Tom Holland met Robert Downey Jr.'s stunt double, Captain America: Civil War. When Spider-Man made his Marvel Cinematic Universe debut back in Captain America: Civil War, no one would have predicted just how much of an impact his relationship with Tony Stark would have had on the Infinity Saga on the whole. The entire reason Iron Man decided to help with the time heist in Avengers Endgame was because he had lost Peter Parker on Titan. Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. have a strong relationship off-screen as well as on-screen. However, you wouldn't have guessed it after their first meeting, which happened during the former's Spider-Man screen test. As a relative unknown stepping into a movie franchise as big as the MCU, with stars like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and all the Chris's, Tom Holland being nervous is completely understandable. Such nerves clearly got the better of him when he met the Iron Man actor for the first time, or at least who he thought was the Iron Man actor. As it turns out, the man Tom Holland went and introduced himself to, and shook the hand of, actually wasn't Robert Downey Jr. at all. It was his stunt double. Imagine the embarrassment. At least Holland was able to get his nerves of meeting RDJ out of the way, with someone who just looked like him before actually meeting the real thing though, eh? Every cloud.